Our time together this morning, we're going to spend reflecting on what does that look like? We each are coming from different places. We each are at different points along our change cycle as we embrace where we're headed together as one OU Extended Campus. And we have today with us a resource speaker from OUHR. I'm going to introduce George Lee to you at this point. In your program, you have George's information, his background and degrees and so forth. Mainly what I want to point out about George is that his focus is on helping us to learn to move from change fatigue to change energy, and looking at being realistic about the complexity of change and what that means for each of us, but being able to do that in a way that energizes rather than drains our energy as we move forward. And I love it especially that he has an obsessive love for seafood, traveling, and a good philosophical conversation. So, George, thank you for being here today. We look forward to our time together. Help us come think about change.
Good morning. Good morning, I should say. Good morning. Good evening. I ain't been here all day yet. Like she said, my name is George. I'll just give you a few disclaimers before I start. About to switch the mood up. We're going to switch the mood up a little bit. I wanted to say that, explicitly. My presentation style is a little bit different. It might come off a little different than what you're used to. However, it fits well with the theme of change. So with the change y'all are already experiencing, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit more on you. Is that okay? All right, cool. So I'm going to start with a little poetry. I'm also the assistant director of debate here, and when I debated, what made me different from the rest of the debaters is I like poetry. So I wrote this before I came here today. Y'all can be honest with me and let me know if it's good or not. Here it goes. I'm here to explore the complexities of change. I said, I'm here to explore the complexities of change. Let's call it change continuity. See, but change be hard because usually it comes with ambiguity. The vagueness of change come with expense, taxes, and gratuity. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Accompanied by paradoxical emotions that usually makes the change difficult, truly. So for this session, let's be open, let's be honest, and confront this change with ingenuity. We have the objectives. We're going to discuss the normal stages of change as per the Six Sigma and coming from some of the experts that kind of research and study change and all the complexities that deal with change. Then we're going to kind of assess your own change readiness, and we have some worksheets that y'all, or a handout y'all was handed to when we did registration. That's why y'all have that. We'll get to that. Then we're going to kind of explore some methods and some strategies surrounding change. And usually, what I know when it comes to these old workshops, there are usually two type of people that come to these workshops, people that volunteer and people that are voluntold. And I can be honest, this is a retreat. I imagine that, some of y'all are kind of probably about to voluntold. You're at a retreat. Dr. Ben said you had to be here, so y'all here, right? Let's make the most of the time that we're going to have. So I don't want to be talking at you for the limited time that I have. I want to kind of make this a kind of an open dialogue. So if at any time you feel encouraged or compelled to interject or say something, I encourage you. And you won't knock me off the flow. I appreciate the conversation. And we're going to connect the vision of what's happening with the OU Extended Campus with the broader campus. And then, with all this, what Dr. Ben said, we're going to kind of be combating change fatigue, kind of giving you some change readiness. Actually, can everybody stand up just a minute? Everybody just stand up. Everybody just stand up. Everybody stand up. Everybody feel like the room is kind of tense, right? So what I understand is that the department is going through a restructure, a change, right? And y'all now are called the extended campus. Is that true? Right now, the other people in this building, let's kind of get on their nerves a little bit. And let's just give kind of the biggest round of applause for y'all being a part of the staff of the extended campus. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Yeah, extended campus. Yes. Yes. Change fatigue can make us feel kind of like we're being beat down. So we have to kind of orient a particular energy to have when we talk about this change, you know? Y'all can have a seat now. Have a seat. This is not my first engagement. And from doing these particular type of engagements, what I've been able to learn is that similes are a powerful tool to giving context and giving engagement when it comes to doing a workshop. Right? And what I had the privilege of doing is kind of meeting with y'all leadership, Dr. Bands and the team, you know. And I was able to kind of get some background information. So I have some similes that came to mind, you know, when I was getting that background information. So we have the OU Extended Campus Simile, you know. I'm not new to OU. I've been at OU for a while now. Been at OU since 2009. And what I know is that a word is always thrown around, a concept is always thrown around, a particular mantra is always thrown around here at OU. Y'all heard it, Dr. Vance kind of hit it on it, the OU family. And I don't know about y'all, but I have a different relationship to family. Like my family is also non-traditional, right? I got some cousins, you know, I got this one cousin, his name is Mario, but he go by Roro, right? I don't know what Mario do. I don't know what Mario stay. To be honest with y'all, I don't even know how me and Roro cousins. But he say we cousins, right? So I run with it. What's up, Roro? You my cousin, whatever. When talking to Dr. Baines in leadership, I was starting to get the same type of feel kind of that y'all kind of got this family going on, right? But me, I like to be straightforward. If y'all ain't figured it out yet, I like to kind of be genuine, right? So I'm not really all for the honky-dory, kind of very optimistic throwing out of when OU says family. Because, you know, my family ain't always good. And I'm sure all y'all family ain't the same way, right? So usually when OU throws the word around about about a family, it's usually from a very optimistic lens. They say y'all should kind of sit around and sing kumbaya and work together. Sometimes families don't work that way. So the first simile I have for y'all is a blended family, you know? And there's no really one point in time where you can kind of differentiate the beginning of a family or the end of a family because it's a blended family. And that spectrum is always growing. What I understand, Dr. Vance mentioned it, 2 years ago, y'all had some shaking and reshifting, you know? There was some splitting, some connecting, some splitting, and some connecting and splitting again. That sounds like a blended family to me, right? About a blended family, though, is there's always these ups and downs, you know. Sometimes we might have a particular family outing, and you don't want to sit by Cousin Roro, or, you know, your auntie, she's not that nice, you know, so you don't want to be about her, you know. And I'm just being honest. There are family members that we don't like. The simile, there are co-workers that we probably won't like and don't like. The question is, what do we do? What do we do? The second simile that I think works for this particular setting right now is, you know, the ups and downs a family goes through, and kind of how, you remember the poem talked about the ambiguity and the vagueness of change, and kind of how sometimes you just don't know. You know, sometimes there is some ambiguity with trying to create the relationship with that extended cousin because you don't know them. They might come from a different culture, a different background, but nonetheless, somebody got connected, and now y'all family. The ups and downs, just a show of heads. This past year in your department, has it seemed like a roller coaster? No? Yeah, it's cool if you say no, too. You don't have to agree. Don't feel compelled to agree. You can disagree. That's cool. I like a disagreement, too. I'm a debate coach. Remember that. Seemed like most everybody shook their head yes. This leads me to what we're here for. What we're trying to get into is understanding the complexities and the different stages of change. And my belief in doing all these different workshops is that if we can provide a language and a perspective with dealing with a specific experience or concept, that will allow for us to not only identify what is going on with this kind of experience, this one we're talking about is change, it'll also help us navigate that change. And just like, with a roller coaster, you don't know when it's going to bend, you don't know when it's going to go up, you don't know when it's going to go down. There's a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity with that roller coaster. It's a curve. That curve, y'all can understand as the change curve. The change curve is a curve where different experts have kind of been able to compile different data and show that there is a consensus of different stages that people and organizations all go through. The process is it's 5 stages of change. We have the pre-change, the excitement and the uncertainty. Remember I said in the poem that it was a paradoxical change. So what you'll see is that at many of these different stages of the change, it's paradoxical, right? Because there is no such thing as a universal solution. It's all about the particularities. And I apologize if I get a little philosophical with y'all, but that's my background, right? But I'm gonna try to gauge y'all when I'm getting too philosophical. So give me the eye if I'm going too far. Thank y'all, appreciate it. So with dealing with the uncertainty and the excitement, with every stage of change, we have accompanied kind of some paradoxical emotions because different folks feel differently about change. And that's important for us to acknowledge. That everybody, that the change that the extent that OU campus is going through, I would guess most of y'all are probably like, I don't know about that. But there are some that is kind of welcoming and happy in that change. And it's important to acknowledge that there are different people kind of responding to the impact of the change differently. The pre-change is kind of the subconscious, unconscious. I know something is going to happen. I know something is going to change, but I don't know how I feel about it. That second stage, the early change stage is when we start to have those expectations and that skepticism. Now, I was sent a study that y'all did in June where y'all were able to do an assessment about where y'all felt y'all was. When we kind of go and explore a little bit more of these stages of change, I want y'all to do a reassessment and kind of being able to indicate where you are now. You personally, not your department, not the person next to you, but where you are personally in this change. Third, we have the valley of despair, or what sometimes I call pity city. Very important. This is the most difficult stage in the change process, and this is the usual stage that people tend to give up, be very resistant to what's next. And the thing about, me kind of being philosophical, that these stages, they're not chronological. They're not linear. So sometimes we can kind of get to stage 3 and then regress back to stage 2 and going into some of this doubt, some of this expectation, some of the skepticism. But like we say when I do this change workshop, is that it's okay to visit the valley of despair. It's okay to visit pity city, but you don't want to move there. And it's important to acknowledge that some people move there. Fourth stage, a new reality. That new reality comes with kind of acceptance and kind of being real with what you know, what you don't know, and how you can move forward in this new reality. And then 5 is like, what's next? The change curve filled in. At your desk, you have the handout. The handout has the same exact graph that is on the board right now. Dr. Bands, I'm putting you on the spot real fast. I know we didn't talk about this, but I feel compelled to do this right now. I'm gonna repeat a line, right? First, I'm gonna repeat a line from the poetry because I'm a debater, so I like kind of extending. So, the point was that for this session, let's be open, honest, and confront change with ingenuity. My question for Dr. Band, specifically you, based off of your knowledge and based off of the conversations you've heard and been a part of, where do you feel like as a college, extended campus, where do you feel like we're at? Y'all at, I should say.
Me or us?
Us.
Us, I think we are between 3 and 4, but with jumping back, periodically visiting 2. I think we're cycling back and forth as we wait for the new reality, full steam ahead. I think we're in that already, not yet, waiting for new reality. We know what's coming, we think, and
See, I wrote this. She said it. We know what's coming, we think.
Exactly.
I'm gonna repeat that. We know what's coming, we think. I started off with a poem about ambiguity and vagueness. For us to be real as adults and trying to make sure we make real this change, we have to acknowledge and position this ambiguity, position this vagueness, position this uncertainty. We don't know. As an HR kind of spokesperson, I am seen as an extension of HR. There are a lot of questions that I'm asked about what HR is doing that I don't know. And as a debate coach, what I teach my debaters is that sometimes the best answer to a question is what? We agree, I don't know. Can sometimes be the best response. In this situation of change, we have to be real with what we don't know. And how what we don't know can slide us into 3, the valley of despair. It's always important to give these little silent rhetorical seconds for you to think, so I'm giving it to you, don't mind me. Just think. The purpose of seeing this life change, seeing this change curve, is that if we're able to be conscious about how we ourselves are positioned within this curve, and we kind of take or get outside of ourselves and try to get a consensus of where everyone else is, we then can have a more kind of unified, blended family in terms of being conscious of where everyone is. So with the information of knowing that typically, according to the experts that have studied and compiled data in dealing with change, these are the stages of change. And that we can recognize that in order for us to get from the old to the new, one way or another, we're going to have to experience this little change curve. We have to help other individuals that are in different parts of this process in the stage, in the change process, in the change stages, and use this idea of these paradoxical emotions, use that information to kind of be able to respond to your colleague, to Dr. Bands, to your leadership. And also, this change is not only organizational. I recognize, there are also some broader changes that are happening outside of not only this particular college, the extended campus, but also outside of the particular college of University of Oklahoma. On the state, we're going through a lot of changes, politically, socially, and economically. You will be a fool not to believe that those changes are not also enforcing or influencing the changes that y'all have to experience as staff of the extended campus. And then if you kind of go outside of the state, federally, we also have some changes. We got some more political, social, and economical changes. Now, I recognize this is a change readiness, change complexity workshop, and y'all didn't come here to talk about, social changes in the state and federal government at all. However, if we're going to have a real conversation about change, we have to be real with what things or theme can influence or impact us when we go through this change. I'm gonna do like a little illustration. What I had before I walked in is still with me. I said what I walked in before I had is still with me. So when I'm going through my change and thinking about what I got to do in the office, the responsibilities, and thinking about, the duties, what I seen on my social media feed, what's going on at home, what I seen on the news, all that is going to have an impact and influence on how I think about change. Now, I know usually we think about professionalism. A lot of the things that could happen on social media or happen on Fox News, CNN, ABC, whatever you get your news from, can be seen as taboo. You should not talk about that at work, or you should put it in a compartment. We dealing with humans. We ain't dealing with computers. Y'all are humans. Meaning that subjective emotion that you have when you walk into your workplace, it's not going to be divorced when you start thinking about trying to effectuate this change in the extended campus. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I want to make sure we be real about what we're dealing with. And that we know that the change that's happening in this department is not in a vacuum. It's not objective. It's not neutral. What can we do to kind of expedite this process of going through change? What can we do to kind of transition through these different stages and process of change? I'm just going to keep on referring to them very vaguely as the experts. If you don't believe me, you look up yourselves. But the experts say that this method of totally add is an acronym. Acknowledge, develop, do. A lot of workshops you go to, you probably get a lot of cookie cutter type of methodologies, cookie cutter type strategies. That's like treat people how you want to be treated. And workplace will be a lot better. We're past that. So what I like kind of emphasizing is the pragmatism or the practicality of what's being given in this workshop. We have acknowledge. We have inventory and acknowledge what is known and what might be known. Because like we said, change and what makes change difficult is usually the ambiguity of the uncertainty surrounded by that change. So how we combat against that uncertainty, that ambiguity, that vagueness, is acknowledge, what do you know? See, I also got kids too. I got a 2-year-old, and she don't really talk much, but somehow she's figured out how to say, I don't know. Right? And not to contradict myself, because sometimes I don't know is the right response. But sometimes when you start to kind of have a laundry list of what you don't know, get a little bit of confidence, a little bit of certainty. It's important to acknowledge what you do know. Acknowledge. The first D in the acronym ADD is develop. What is growing and what is developing? What can you grow? What can you develop in terms of this process of change and being uncertain? What can you develop? What can you grow? And you see, I'm saying you, not they, not them. I'm saying you. Last, what you gonna do? Or like my grandpa used to say, little George, what you gonna do? We have change. We have the ambiguity and vagueness surrounded by that change. And then we have this nice little tight acronym, totally add. get to this handout. Finally at the handout, what I've been talking about, what I've kind of referenced a few times. 8 months ago, y'all had the opportunity to kind of take an assessment on where y'all were at as a department, you specifically. I seen the data. A lot of y'all said y'all were at 4 and 5. And I know y'all see, that's y'all boss, but it's not my boss. They was lying. They was lying. They was lying. Moving forward, can we try to be, this could be asking too much, can we try to be a little bit more straightforward with Dr. Benz? Instead of, because I don't know y'all, I don't know Dr. Benz, but I knew when I seen that, like, this can't be right. This can't be right. The experts say that, when we go through organizational change, it is not as, receptive and not, So, take 10 minutes. I want you to answer the question, where are you at, why? And then second on this handout, we have the how you can totally add. What can you acknowledge, develop, and do in terms of where you're at? And then after you kind of take like 2 or 3 minutes to yourself in answering this handout, I want you to kind of turn to the people around you and y'all kind of share information. You share, this is where I'm at. I'm at a 2. I think leadership and Dr. Vance be tripping, but not really transparent. This is where I'm at. This is what I can do. Try to acknowledge why they be tripping. Try to get I'm getting that? 10 minutes, go. Oh. Yeah, this is good. I know it's good when we have a lot of different conversations going on. And I kind of was worried if y'all would kind of talk with each other. Because, some of y'all laughed a little bit too hard when I made that joke about how we don't mess with family. So I was like, I don't know how much conversation we're going to be getting. But I kind of was able to walk around the room and was able to kind of get a cool little consensus. And, from what I was kind of able to overhear, we all over the place in this room. Just being real. We all over the place in this room. But it is important, and it's important for us to be conscious about how we're all over the place, essentially, that literally we had people from 1 through 5. Not many people on 5, but there was a person or 2 or 3. But the point is for us to recognize there's a multiplicity in where all of your colleagues are in terms of where they're at in the process of kind of doing this restructure and doing this change. Some of the conversations, I appreciate y'all for letting me in. Dr. Benz, I was told to keep it confidential. You know what I mean? So, I'm not going to point any elbows in any direction of where it came from. But, Dr. Benz, and, people that was putting together this event here, I was told that pens are usually handed out. And y'all didn't hand out any pens, right? What I was told to also relay is that we need these pens to be what they call ballpoint pens, right? But going a little further, we don't need, I'm quoting this. I work for HR, don't tell on me. I don't know how this word worked, you feel me? But I'm going to say it how it was said to me. Dr. Benz, not crappy pens. Ballpoint pens every meeting. That's important for change, right? Yes. Just to kind of conclude this conversation, I recognize I only have a limited amount of time. The 10 minutes I gave y'all to kind of discuss amongst yourselves, I recognize those conversations have a lot more severity on them that needs to be held in much longer time than 10 minutes. I'd encourage you to kind of keep that conversation going on. This side of the room, if you can share where you're at, what you can acknowledge, develop, and do with this side of the room, and y'all kind of have some cross-communication. Because what I know in terms of change, how we are able to kind of kill, and I use the word kill purposely, kill some of that uncertainty and ambiguity is by kind of communicating. Because that communicating is how more information is dispersed and more information is developed. With that being said, I didn't want to make this just corny, right? Or just make it where, like I said, I'm just giving you this broad, vague, thing that you can do, think about in the abstract. I wanted to actually have, what is your leadership doing to totally add? What are they doing? I was able to, talk with them, and I was able to kind of get just a little bit of what they're doing. And then I'll say this before I start going into these bullet points about adding, about acknowledging, developing, and doing. If there's any kind of clarity that is needed for these dots or for these bullet points for what we need to acknowledge, do, and develop, go to them. These people in the front, I know for a fact they're a part of leadership. And then whoever in your office, in your department, you see as leadership, you can go to them and ask. This is just the information I was given, and now I'm giving this information to you. Cool? You understand that? That's all I need is this. So we understand we're on the same page. Yes? Cool. Acknowledge. As a department, your leadership, what we can acknowledge in terms of all of the things that's unknown. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with this, but it was this popular song in the 90s by Wu-Tang Clan. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The song was called Cream. Cash rules everything around me, cream. Even though that was in the 90s and we like in 2019 almost, cream, cash still rules everything around me. So this first acknowledgement, and I recognize the significance in acknowledging this, is that Dr. Bands has made a commitment to not do any kind of layoffs. And what has been kind of taking place to keep that commitment is there's been different temporary employees and kind of peak positions that was made to kind of be able to move people around while we're doing this restructuring. The second thing we can acknowledge, is AP, AKA the OU North America and Europe office is also changing from a primary military base or primary military basis to a storefront and kind of lost to HR. That's also something that we can acknowledge that has broader organizational impacts on what we're doing here at the college. We can acknowledge that. We can acknowledge some developments. What is developing? What is developing with leadership? What do we know? The goal is when y'all came into this space, you probably had, we can put like a level, we're going to put a level of, through 1 through 10 of uncertainty. I'm going to say y'all was at a 10. I'm not going to sell no dreams. So my goal is to hopefully that 10 can at least be reduced down to like an 8. Y'all with me with that? Sure? You with me? What's your name? John. John is with me. I appreciate you for being with me, John. I really appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, broader campus developments can impact the OU extended campus and also the structuring, policies, mission, values, and this commitment that Dr. Bands has made in terms of this commitment. What we know is that, one of my degrees is in higher education, and what I was able to learn is that the chain of command or the loosely coupled systems of the university is important. What I mean by that is that there are going to be some things that are out of the jurisdiction of the leadership in the extended college. There are broader policies, legislation, regulations that could be kind of pushed down the hill, and we recognize in terms of being conscious and real is that Dr. Bands and the entire college is merely positioned somewhere on that hill that's not at the top. Not at the top. What we also know that's developing is that President Gallagher, is not going to make any top-down decisions, meaning that President Gallagher is going to get an assessment from the leadership of not only the extended OU college, but also the other colleges here at the University of Oklahoma before any decisions is made. I like also being real and transparent. And what we know is that, President Gallagher doesn't have the most experience when it comes to being in higher education. So what we're able to understand in terms of development is that President Gallagher is being upfront and transparent about that and seeking this assessments from the leadership to make sure all horses or cows or farm animals are being accounted for when it comes time to make any decisions. Which leads us to do. What is leadership doing now that we've able to kind of identify what we can acknowledge, identify what is developing? what is leadership doing and what can y'all do to assist leadership in what they're doing? The first thing we know is going on is that marketing is working with the broader campus to ensure OU Extended Campus is a part of the collaboration with main campus. If you're not familiar with Wu-Tang Clan, you can get with them a little bit, But this is when I remind you, cream. Cash rules everything around me. That's important. If you didn't know that, you can put that as another nugget you take away from this. Cream, cash rules everything around me. And that's what this first point is about, the marketing. I'm sure that's what all of us, kind of here for. We all got bills to pay, so we recognize that, what is happening up there that can affect me being here and how will I be able to pay my bills, take care of my family. I recognize that. That's what marketing is doing, though, in terms of being able to contribute and making sure we're able to get our bills paid one way or another, but only in terms of marketing. And then last, in terms of what we're acknowledging, what's being done, is that leadership, Dr. Bands, is giving what I'm calling a open door opportunities to be a part of this process of change. Because what we also can acknowledge is being developed is that y'all have a new mission. You have new values, kind of going through a new structure. What you can do is vision what you're doing now and how that might look once we start pushing forward with this new mission and these new values. And recognizing you might not know how that might look. However, we know that most people tend to correlate change with loss. I'm going to say it again. Most people tend to correlate change with loss. My point is that you need to already come to grips with what you're going to lose, that you're unfamiliar with, or that you're more familiar with, and how you're going to move to a space of what you're kind of being unfamiliar. And that it's not a loss. Or if you want to be, if that's how you perspective, that's your perspective, you need to come to grips with this loss and deal with it. Or how we say where I'm from, it is what it is. With that being said, what do you do? To give you a little myself, like I said, I'm a spokesperson of HR. With President Gallagher kind of coming in, President Gallagher has restructured, reshaped the duties that HR has in terms of the relationship that we have with the rest of the campus. What that means is that there are a lot of developments in HR that should be kind of disseminated amongst the campus that old George Lee don't know. A lot of the times, I think that I'm kind of left out the loop. And from walking around this room, I think that a lot of you relate to me because y'all are left out of the loop and kind of being in the dark. That's inevitable. It's not a purposeful kind of darkness or a purposeful uncertainty. It is just the process of change and know the ambiguity to change. So what do I acknowledge? What I acknowledge is that though we have a new president and our old president have more of a political science background, the new president has more of a business background, I can acknowledge the mission statement of OU will stay the same. The OU mission will stay the same. Whether it's President Gallagher or President Bourne, OU has a particular service that we have kind of ensured the greater public that we're going to give them these particular services. That stays the same. I can ensure when I go do new employee orientation or I do workshop, whether it's change or stability, they ask, George, what's going on? Hey, I don't know. This is what I do know. I've never met President Gallagher. Don't know the man. Looking forward to meeting him. But in terms of development, I can acknowledge what I've already said y'all know. President Gallagher is not going to make any top-down decisions. He's going to, assess the universities or assess departments before he makes any decision. I also want to kind of give a kind of personal, how I can kind of make real, I guess, this totally ad. Being the subjects of change. When talking with Dr. Bands, I had a quote, and it didn't make it, but the quote is, Dr. Bands wanted me to make sure that y'all know that she wants this process to be transparent and participatory. She wants this process to be transparent and participatory, meaning that we all need to be subjects of change. It's a reciprocated process. It's not all on leadership. It's not all on the employees, or it's not all on the team members. We all have different responsibilities and different things we have to be accountable for when kind of bringing about this change. So some of us will be change agents. I mean, we'll be the people that kind of act as the catalyst for change. You know, when you were talking amongst yourselves, you know, there might be a conversation on side of you that you kind of heard a little bit. You might need to be the catalyst for change for one of your colleagues. You might need to kind of think about the emotions that kind of accompany a particular stage within change to try to cultivate how your colleague is doing. But it's not all about the colleague either. What are you doing? How do you feel? Are you being real with yourself in terms of how you are reacting to this change we're going through? Are you being resistant to this change? Are you helping this change go down? What are you doing? It's easy to kind of scapegoat and be like, it's out there, so I'm more about inward. Y'all saw we have change leaders. Being a subject of change, you can be a change agent, you can be a change leader. These are not static categories, meaning that you can go from being a change leader on Monday at 12 o'clock, and on Monday at 1 o'clock, you might need to be a change agent. On Tuesday, it might call for you to be a change agent the entire day, but the morning of Thursday, you go back to being a change leader. My point is that, again, it's not static, and that it is very situational and circumstantial. Given the circumstance or the situation, it might call for you to enact or orient to be a different type of subject of change. And it's in this particular slide with Dr. Ben's words. We want this process to be a transparent process and a participatory process, meaning that it's open to you all. All y'all. Not just the people that you might think is, you know, I guess I feel like every department has the I call it good old boys, but it's like the favorites, not just the favorites, like everybody. It's the invitation open to everybody. There it is. I messed it up. It's supposed to be in front of that, but that's transparent, participatory process. There it is. Jokes on me. Ha ha ha. So in review, you know, we've discussed the normal stages of change. That's the 6 Sigma change curve. We were able to go through the 5 steps of change. We're also able to explore some of the methods and kind of strategies and being able to kind of shrink the change or being able to expedite the process of change. And that was that acronym, that totally add, acknowledge, develop, do. Then we kind of access your own change readiness when we did the activity. And I kind of gave you a little bit of how I'm positioned within totally add. And then we kind of, you know, all this is for combating change fatigue, kind of getting us ready for change readiness. I'm a debate coach, so I got to end with a little philosophy. You know, shout out to Socrates, may he rest in peace, R.I.P. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. My name is George Lee. I'm the Assistant Director of Debate and an HR Training Specialist. I appreciate y'all for bringing me into this space. I hope I ain't mess up the vibe too much. I hope y'all appreciated me as much as I appreciated y'all. Thank you.